Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah and I wanted to welcome all of you to another installment of Monologue Monday here on my YouTube channel.
Monologue Monday.
In this episode of Monologue Monday, I am going to share my personal opinions on why buying luxury goods is likely a big waste of your time and your money. With that being said, let's get into this episode of Monologue Monday. So, like I previously stated, this episode of Monologue Monday is centered around the rationale behind purchasing luxury goods, right? And we all know different brands that stand out. Everybody has kind of their own idea of what a luxury brand is, but generally speaking, I think we can all articulate, brands that are desirable, sought after. People, save up great deals of money to buy just one small piece of clothing, of shoes, or a watch, or a dress. There's so many different things out there that I think a lot of people would consider luxury and high end. But the question becomes: are these products really worth it? So one of the main reasons why I wanted to have this discussion or share my personal opinions on the purchasing of luxury goods, clothing, and shoes, and so on, is because it was something that was coming up quite a bit within my service when I was working with different individuals and we were going through all of their expenses and so on. I've made a video previously showcasing everything that's included in my service, and this is part of the process, right? Breaking down expenses by merchant. So the merchants in this case would be the luxury brands, right? So like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Tiffany, Rolex, it goes on and on and on, right? There's just so many different, mainly clothing brands and so on that would be considered luxury brands, but these pop up quite a bit, right? As I was working with individuals, and it just so happened that the amounts weren't, $20 investments, right? They were thousands of dollars, thousands and thousands of dollars in some cases, which is no small investment, right? They are expensive products. So the question came to me of whether or not these goods were really worth it, right? So I would have a discussion with them and basically try to articulate if the purchasing of these goods was something that was in, what was their incentive to purchase these luxuries? Was it something that they needed? Was it something that they thought was going to make them better? Was it something that is just a general good investment? Generally speaking, I think a lot of people think that the more expensive a product is, the better it's going to be, the longer it's going to hold up, and so on. And in some cases, that is actually true. But for something like clothing and these kind of goods, I think the conversation kind of steers opposite to that. So after discussing these different thoughts with a lot of my clients, the consensus is very consistent in that, honesty is big here, right? So the question that I would pose was, generally speaking, what was the rationale behind the purchase, right? It's clearly thousands of dollars, and you don't even have it on you today, So what was the purpose of it? And generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, the rationale behind the purchase was they wanted to look good or look cool, or showcase that they had something as kind of a symbol, right? As I have this, right? I have this cool item, I have this expensive item, and so on, which was, which is kind of the opposite of what you want to hear, as someone who works on individuals' finances and budgets. If someone's spending a lot of money on something, you want to know, or you want to be confident that that's getting a lot of use out of it, right? So like a vehicle, for example, maybe someone goes, puts in an extra $8,000 to $10,000 on a vehicle, but it is something that they're using every day and they can count on every single day, versus buying the cheap alternative that's just not going to last, right? But the same thing did not hold true for these luxuries, where they would use it, once or twice or every here, ever so often, and that was pretty much it. So they paid this huge premium, thousands and thousands of dollars for something that is not really getting used. And of course, in a lot of these cases, when we have my client and I have a honest discussion about these purchases and so on, it's likely the case that they'll kind of reflect back on it and say, yeah, I didn't really need it, right? Something else would have sufficed. It wasn't. Sometimes I even hear it wasn't worth it, right? But a lot of these these companies, they're not really too friendly with getting the customer's money back, right? They want to just make that profit and then get them out of the door, or whatever it is. But this is something that I saw a lot, and these are conversations that I have quite frequently with different clients and friends and so on, where people reflect on these luxury purchases that they want. In some cases, they are using them all the time, and that's a different story. But a lot of times they reflect back on it, and it's something that they probably are going to regret. Now, of course, I want to share my personal opinion on how I actually feel about luxury goods. And I think there's an important distinction to make between luxury and high end, right? So, in this video, specifically, when we talk about luxury items, we are really talking about like clothing and wallets, watches, hats, shoes, right? Those kind of things where they're more on your body. When I think of sort of high end materials and equipment, I think of utilitarian things, right? Like I bought a high end bicycle, I bought a high end camera, or a high end microphone, for example. Things that are things that really augment your performance, how your videos look, how your videos sound, and so on. And my personal opinion on luxury items like clothes, like the Louis Vuitton and the Gucci, and I mean, Blueberry, or I don't know it's something berry, right? Blueberry, berry, or whatever it is. I personally think that these items don't mean anything, right? The only thing that they mean to me personally is that someone spent a lot of money on them. In the grand scheme of things, these items don't mean anything, right? You can wear that, you can wear them all over the place, and you'll get you might get some eyes on you because it's an item that's of higher expense, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make you a better person, right? It's not going to make you cooler. And in some cases, in my personal opinion, having these kind of items can actually show different individuals that you're trying too hard, perhaps, right? So the opposite effect happens, where you don't have a natural cool about you anymore. You just look like you're trying too hard. But of course, this isn't always the case, right? So if you are an individual who can, pull these luxury items off, and it looks good, okay, sure, it looks good. But these are just my personal opinions on what I've heard, what I've felt, and what I've discussed with other individuals, where the item itself is, there's a price tag attached to it, but it's not going to augment anything about you, right? It's not going to augment, your videos like a camera would, or your audio like a microphone would. It's not going to do any of that. These are just items with a brand on them, with maybe somewhat special materials, but that's unlikely, and they don't mean anything. And of course, I want to provide a alternative to these items, right? So you guys already know my opinion on the matter. I think these items are frankly kind of stupid. They're not going to last in the same way more utilitarian equipment will, right? I made that distinction before. They're just clothes, right? They're just shoes. It's just a wallet. It's just a watch. So I've already made that clear. But an alternative part of me that I can kind of think of is, instead of buying, the higher end, the luxury item to make yourself look cool, or make yourself, appear more than what you are, which is, I don't know why you would want to do that in the first place, right? It comes off as fake. Then you come off as fake. But instead of doing that, right? So instead of doing that, let's say you need a watch, right? Instead of spending the $10,000 on the watch, the $5,000 on the watch, spend $500 or spend $1,000 on a watch, and take the $4,000 and just put it away towards something that actually matters, like your retirement account, or your savings account. And as I reflect back on working with different clients, the total amount of money that they've spent on luxury goods does equate, in some cases, to down payments on large items such as vehicles and even houses in some cases. So essentially, you can think of this Monologue Monday as a reminder to not get caught up in the luxury good phase, or the luxury good status quo, that you need certain items to and look a certain way to basically be a certain person. That's just hardly the case. And like I said, I think nowadays, especially because these type of opinions are coming to light, it actually has the opposite effect, right? So if you have someone, like I said, who's who's decked out in all these goods, they tend to maybe look a little bit more silly than cool, in that the intention behind the luxury item is, of course, to look cool in the first place. So there you have it. Those are going to conclude my personal opinions on why I believe luxury goods are likely a waste of your time and your hard-earned money. But of course, I want to hear from my viewers as well. What do you think about my opinions on this matter? Please let me know in the comment section below. And of course, if you have any questions for me personally, or if you'd like to take a look at the financial services that I can provide to you, I've left my email and a link to my company website in the description box below. Thank you again so much for your time today, and of course, happy financing.